Welcome to the Pivot Experience podcast, where leadership transformation isn't just a concept, it's a journey we take together. This is where real leaders share real stories about the moments that changed everything. In each episode, we dive deep into the pivotal experiences that transformed good leaders into great ones. Whether you're a seasoned executive, a rising star in your organization, or someone ready to take that next big step in your leadership journey, you're in the right place. Get ready to learn, grow, and maybe even find that spark that ignites your own leadership pivot. This is the Pivot Experience podcast, where your next breakthrough starts here.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your friend, Pastor John R. Adolph from the Antioch Church in Beaumont, Texas. Hey, listen, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe this channel so you can continue to pivot into your next.
From a more technical standpoint, I want to talk about the story that you just talked about with the girl that was an LDP. Can you talk about some of the pivots and the tweaks that you mentioned that she needed to make, that she initially had that was rough, that you were able to help her get polished up?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with what we were talking about. Like, she was so concerned about being perceived in a certain way. She was so controlling, and she was just, when you strong arm something, usually you lose it. And she paused, and when I pushed back, and she got told no, and then she got some harsh feedback, and like honest feedback, and she took it. And it's so hard to actually take feedback, really, to like sit and receive and let it sink and be curious. That's something I was thinking too about before coming on, is like, man, what is it to have good communication? It's to be willing to be curious. Like, it's hard for me to think about, like, running bridge coaching. I'm like, golly, wonder what Nathan thinks, but I want to be someone that is curious. And she just dug into that. She latched onto it, and it takes real humility. Again, not just like the word humility. It takes felt, deep, intended humility, and it takes courageous confidence. And she was willing to fail, and she did fail some, but she failed forward and pivoted when she needed to, and like just added all these tools to her toolkit. And then people started trusting her, and they saw her humility. Who wants to follow an ego-filled leader? Not me. Golly, are you kidding? I'm like, I want to see someone fail and then apologize for it and get back up. I'll follow them all day long. And as coaches, what are the things we hear from people? Like, I don't want them to think that I can't do it. You can't. You literally can't. Just like fail and just admit it. And then you're going to actually be able to do it, So I saw that pivot in her, and she leaned all the way in. I think when we get to a fork in the road, and like, that's why the no, I think, is so helpful sometimes. It forces a fork in the road. So you come to the fork and you're like, okay, I either lean in or I lean out. I either lean in or I lean out. Both of those stories I told, they leaned in. They look different. They both leaned into like the courageous confidence, failing forward, authentic humility. And they let go of control, then got what they wanted. And reverse psychology, baby, works every time.
Well, it's that authenticity that they were missing. Is they were in you. It's almost like you want to control so much that you become fake, and your team can see it. Your team can totally see it. They're like, and I'm telling you this from a place of somebody who was in so much control at one point, that my team would say, they're like, you're just not even human. Like, you don't. And I'm like, no, I am human. But because I wanted to, they didn't even really know the true me at that point. And I think that's what it is there's like this, like, when you really learn to be authentically who you are, and some people are going to like it and some people aren't. And that's okay.
Yep.
That's 100% okay. And I think until you get to that point, that's where, you're not gonna thrive in the interview setting, or you're not gonna thrive. And then I was also thinking about this, Elise. I know this sounds crazy, but it's like, people are so focused on getting into LDP. It's like, the wedding day, but like, you actually have to stay married after.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. That's
like, I was thinking about that. I was like, I've been married 18, almost 19 years. And I was thinking about, like, I see it today. I see it in, you know, these young, we have a ton of young kids coming through Chick-fil-A. And so, you know, they fall in love, they want to get married, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be all great. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, let me just tell you the truth. The wedding day is just the start. There's actually a marriage after. And so I think Roderick's on the call as well, and he's just got into LDP. And it's like, you know, I need to text him more often. Roger, we need to text him more often. Asking, like, how's it going? Because there is a reality that after you get in, you actually have to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the operator as well. It's like, I'm friends with multiple operators, and some of them are young operators who've just become operators, and they like think that it's like Candyland once you hit that, and then reality strikes, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm running a multi-million-dollar business. I have 70 to 100 employees that are under my responsibility. Like, there's food safety, there's food quality, there's food cost, there's all these moving parts to running a business, and it's like, it's that imposter syndrome of like, can I even do this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you don't do the dirty work in the front end and actually the LP wedding day, TDP wedding day, that you're actually going to have to do the job, like, you're going to go in and it will tear you apart if you haven't, like, you know, already done the dirty work to really figure out who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah, no, that's really good, Giovanna. Actually, you're kind of stepping into our next topic about being authentic. But before we got there, I wanted to kind of touch on, Elise, when you were talking about almost two opposing things and how they need to work together. When you said that a lot of people are afraid to fail, right? They're afraid to fail, but they have to have intended humility. And I feel like when we prioritize the humility, we forget about the wins that we have. We forget about the successes that we have. We forget about all the good things that we have done. And so the fear of failure is amplified because we've muzzled the things that we are good at. We've stomped down those. And so I think that in an effort to be humble, you still have to be in tune with the results that you're pushing. You still have to be in tune with your competencies. And don't forget that I think when you are confident in the things that you do well, it's easier for you to be vulnerable with the things that you are not. You know, it's easy for you to own when you mess up, when you have confidence in the areas that you have done well. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted that, because I felt like you said it very well, but I feel like, you know, I just wanted to say, like, I think people are scared to fail because they're prioritizing humility, and when they prioritize the humility, they forget about the wins. They're forgetting about the wins.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you said the word muzzled, and that like is such a interesting word to like throw in this mix. I remember one time someone told me a definition of humility, because we've heard the one that's like, it's not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And someone I interacted with was like, that's not true. True humility is having an accurate representation of yourself. And I was like, when I heard that, because that means you have an accurate representation of the good, like you're saying, great. You're like, okay, I'm very aware of my strengths, but I'm also very aware of my blind spots, and that there are blind spots. And that shifted a lot for me, because that means you can walk forward in humble confidence with like knowing your strengths. And I don't know if you experience this, but when people can't speak to their strengths, or if they can't take a compliment, I'm like, red flag, not red flag. I'm just like, oh, that's probably an area, because it's reflective of the self-awareness piece. Like, it actually is just false humility if you don't understand your strengths, because humility is like knowing who you are. So I love it you said that. The word muzzle, I'm going to sit with that one.
No, and so just getting back into, like I said, Giovanna did a great job of kind of, you know, getting this to this next piece of the conversation. And it's going to be our last part. So for those of you who have any questions or concerns, not necessarily concerns, just comments that you want to bring up during this time, you'll have a chance to do so in a few moments. But, you know, many leaders struggle with this idea of balancing being authentic and being professional. You know, they balance, you know, it's a hard thing for them to balance. So how do you coach executives to maintain their genuine voice while elevating their communication and impact?
Mm-hmm. This is, if I'm being honest, it's a little bit of a hard one for me because I probably lean a little too casual. But I mean, it's what
I've noticed a little bit. I mean, just
it's my opinion because I think I used to be very like, boop, 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 you know, buttoned up. And I used to kind of want, I'm not pursuing anything with Chick-fil-A, but I used to want to. And I found that me trying to be overly professional made me inauthentic. So there's some level where it's like, okay, I'm interviewing a person in a few weeks that is a very important person in my world. And I'm like, I'm going to have to keep it. I have to like elevate the professionalism a little bit. And I think there's like radar for that. But I lose honestly respect for people when I'm like, oh, I'm watching you lose a part of yourself because you're so buttoned up. And I actually worked with an LDP participant who, y'all know Amy Odie. She's like big wearer at Chick-fil-A. She literally called this participant out and was like, dude, you got to loosen up. You got to loosen up a little bit. Cause who are you? You're talking about sports. Where was this? You know? So I think as I've grown and, you know, we're in the Chick-fil-A space a lot, but even in other spaces, especially with the rise of social media, everybody's doing day in the life. Everybody's doing all this stuff. People just really want to know, like, who are you? And so I'm kind of in a testing phase, if I'm being honest. You can go look at my social media. You will see me doing CrossFit workouts. You'll see me in my garden. You'll see me putting tile on a wall. You'll see me having a leadership thought. Like, honestly, that's just who I am. And that's like what you'll see me reading. Like those things all contribute to how I show up as a coach and as a leader. And I used to be like, ooh, only separate. But I'm leaning into not doing that anymore. So maybe check in a year and see if it absolutely ruined my business. But
in my head, Elise, I'm like, will the real Elise Moore please stand up?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, don't go to my socials if you don't want to really see what's there.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. I mean, I think, you know, I'm just gonna use the word business casual a little bit. Like, where was business casual 10 years ago versus where is business casual now? I mean, you see joggers. Yeah, correct. Yeah, tattoos. She's got a nose ring. And I'm just in my mind, I'm like, that's what it used to be. Mm-hmm. But I think people want to see the real you. You can't be one person at home and one person at work, or like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I agree with you 100%. I think I was telling Camry this about his interview that he just did. I was like, just show up as you. Like, it's just a conversation. That's all it is. Like, and if you actually take it that way, because I tell Camry all the time, I'm like, Camry, when you answer a question versus when we're just talking about random shenanigans, like that's the person that I love, is that Camry versus the Camry that's like answering questions, which you have to answer questions and you have to follow, you know, you have to follow your structure and you have to give the real result and all those things. But to me, you know, if you go back to Craig Rochelle too, I love Craig Rochelle, but you know, stories stick, facts fade. Like, tell stories. And when you're telling stories, that's where you get to really shine, because those are your stories. One, stories that you've played a part in as a leader. But two, like, that's the real you. Like, that's when your face lights up. That's, you know, that's when I always say, you know what, when I ask interview questions at work, I'm like, you know, what are you passionate about is one of the questions I ask. And they like kind of look at me like, what is she asking? I'm like, okay, what's that one thing that I would find you doing if you were not at work and you were not at school and you were just like your face was like, and they look at me and they're like, okay, I know that. Like, I like music. I like, you know, whatever it is. And I'm like, when they start talking about those things, that's when I get to see the true person show up. And that's what I want to see. Like, that's where like the fun happens. Actually, I did an interview. This is weird, but I did an interview I was interviewing team members, and I don't get to do it a lot. And I had a girl, and I was talking to her, and I was like, why did you show up at Chick-fil-A? And she had kind of talked to me about wanting to be a nurse. And I was like, well, why do you want to be a nurse? And she's like, well, and she went into this whole story about how her dad had been sick for a very long time. And she had been, you know, would go to the hospital with him a lot. And she's like, I just see that the difference they make, and just started bawling in the interview. And she's like, this is so embarrassing. And I was like, no, keep telling me your story. And I hired her and she works for us now. But like that, when she did that in the interview and I could tell that she was real, like she could have told me her weaknesses were all these things. But the fact that she showed up as real, that's why I hired her. Because she wanted to serve people and she showed me that she could be a real person. And I was like, that's what I need you to do for our guest. So I think authenticity, like.
Yeah. Well, and something I was going to say too is, you know, there is a level of self-awareness. So if you have something, it just in different settings. So, you know, let's say showing up at work, your 9 to 5 or whatever job, Chick-fil-A, they're showing up at, let's say you go to support center. That's a different level of professionalism. That's a different category. Then let's say you meet Andrew Cathy, another level. And then let's say you meet your state representatives or like this dream job that you've always wanted and you're getting the chance to meet the CEO. Like all of those levels. And then hold on, let's go back to the bottom. Your bestie. You go hang out with your bestie, right? All of those levels are going to require different levels of professionalism. So the key is, what does authenticity look like in those different levels? This big interview I have in a few weeks, I'm already thinking like, okay, how can I be fun and engaging and like lighthearted and happy and positive and whatever, but also like meet this person where they're at so that I don't make them uncomfortable. Because at some point it just becomes about me and that's just selfish, you know? So if we can approach situations not with like, what can I get from this? Can I get a connection? Can I get a sale? Can I get something? But rather like, how do I show up and serve someone actually? Even if it's a really important person, the best thing might just be to be myself in a way that meets them where they're at. So it might take some trial and error too. Like I've had interactions where I'm like, never do that again, Elise. Literally never. You know, it's embarrassing. And then I've had interactions where I'm like, that felt like a really good representation of who I am. And I want to continue that. That felt good. That felt like it was aligned with my values. So you might have to trial and error it. Like people in interviews, people listening, just try it out and then take note. Be curious about it. Yeah. And you'll see.
No, I couldn't agree with you guys more. I think, you know, for me, it just sums up as, you know, your ability to read the room. You know, can you read the room? Do you understand the audience in which you're talking to? I heard somebody say like your level of preparedness. And I think this goes all the way back to the first question that we were talking about. Like, or if you're in tune with your pillars, you might be able to shake some of the things on the top, but you can't shake me at my core. And if you are walking in that, then your ability to interview, your ability to conversate becomes a whole lot easier. I'll transparently, like 10, 12 years ago, like when I was first becoming a GM, you thought you had to say things a certain way. You thought you had to present yourself a certain way. I've been wanting to grow my hair since like 05, man. But, you know, now, of course, like the rules have changed. Now that's a little bit, that's acceptable now. But it's just one of those things where you thought that things had to be a certain way. I didn't learn that until I was at a grand opening and I was in the room of operators after hours. And I was like, it's a little different than what I imagined it to be. But, you know, like, I think at the end of the day, we're all people. And as long as we learn to connect with each other on a human level, that's somebody that we interact with. You know, we talked about that LinkedIn circle. There's someone else in that LinkedIn circle. I'm not going to name her name here, but, you know, people want that human connection. People want the human connection. People want the to know that you're a real person. I used to think that you had to give the perfect answer. You had to give the perfect response, you know. And I was meeting with someone recently, and they was like, you know, you have a natural humor that you should not try to take out of the conversation. Because, you know, sometimes I deem it appropriate, sometimes I don't. But it's like, no, I just keep that with me then. That lightens the room, that helps, you know, get things across. So I love that. And I guess the one last thing I want to add to that, I think sometimes when we think about our ability to communicate on a professional level, this is particular to the work environment, right? Because I think some of us, beyond interviewing, we still, to your point, you still got to go do the work after you get the opportunity or whatever. But I think how much you leverage the sabbatical time, how much you leverage that time away from the professional arena and building a relationship with someone, that allows you to be as professional as you need to be, and it doesn't come across a way when it feels disingenuous because that person knows you beyond just the job. So I think when you work on prioritizing relationships too, that helps with your ability to communicate, depending what the arena you're in. So thank you so much, Elise, for giving us some time, your time this evening. I now want to open the floors to cameras, not Camry, but cameras and questions. If you want to, if ask Elise any questions, myself, Giovanna, Ashley's available for questions. I think anybody on here, this is a pretty rich group of individuals that are on the line. A lot of brass on the line here. So we should have some good after conversation. Roderick has his hand raised, and you can bring Roderick to the front if he's willing. I mean, Ashley, if you want him to. Look at that. Won't that be cute?
So I'm actually walking, so I won't turn my camera on, but I couldn't not say how much I enjoyed this conversation tonight, because it's definitely aligning with my thoughts and how I'm feeling towards LDP. And I remember maybe a month ago I was in readiness training, and Jeff Henderson, he's a leadership coach that works for the support center, and he said, as you embark on LDP, don't focus on your destination, focus on who you are going to be as a person, your leadership journey, and then you'll get to where you want to go. That just happens by happenstance, by you aligning yourself with who you want to be and working on your craft every day. And at least you kind of hit that right on the nail. That was one thing that really kind of resonated with me. And the second thing that really resonated with me as well is the authenticity piece. Because as I was walking through LDP interviews, my mindset was, I got to make sure I say the right things. I got to have the right facial expressions all the time. And I have to put on this facade to try to get to this position. But shortly after my first interview, I kind of just came at peace with I want to really show up as myself, as Roderick. And then whatever happens, happens. Unfortunate we're here in LDP at our first assignment. And I think
Let's go.
I think that mindset change walking into those interviews has been super helpful for me. So this conversation now really got me fired up, and because I was really aligning myself in this conversation. So thank you guys for having this conversation tonight. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. That's awesome. Congrats.
I think too, just when you were talking, Roderick, enjoy the journey. My goodness. I feel like Chick-fil-A doesn't do a great job of valuing that. I know that sounds crazy, and I love Chick-fil-A. I'm allowed to say it because I've been working with Chick-fil-A for a long time, but it's we're always trying to get to the next destination. And I think sometimes along the way we get lost and we forget to enjoy the day, enjoy the moment with the team member, enjoy we're all on life's journey, guys. And this is it's short, honestly. It feels long sometimes, but if we forget to enjoy the journey, man, we're missing out on opportunities is what I always think about. When I'm not enjoying the journey, I'm missing out on opportunities in ways that I can make an impact, or ways that, somebody else can make an impact on me. I'm not open to that. So
no, 100%. Anyone else have any other comments for the day? Don't be shy. We don't bite. Caleb has his hand raised. Mr. Andrews.
Hi, I'm in my corner right now, so I'm not gonna turn my camera on.
Right.
But I think I joined in maybe 10 minutes late, so sorry about that. But when I was coming in, it was on the topic of people being Chick-fil-A thirsty. And I think hearing the conversation and hearing how it can go in two different routes, I think that makes me want to evaluate where I am right now and make sure my values, my goals align with furthering in Chick-fil-A, instead of just saying this is what I want to do because I know I want to, but is that really my purpose? Is that really where I want to go? So I just wanted to say thank you, because I think that was really valuable and kind of helped me with some redirection there.
That's awesome. Thanks for saying that.
And I was gonna say, man, just to, I guess, be transparent, I love the idea, and I hope this doesn't come across wrong, but the idea of local ownership is so powerful that it impacts all of us, right? like in a positive way. You know, I think the reason why Chick-fil-A is what it is because of local ownership. But I think the way it impacts us as managers or leaders, sometimes we feel like that is the just natural progression of our lives. That's what we should do. We've been doing this. I mean, Caleb, I know a little bit about you. You've been around for a while, and it just seems like this is the next best thing for me to do is to pursue this opportunity. We asked, the brand asked you to give a significant part of your life to it. The accessibility to the education, to the impact, the autonomy you get, you think it's what you want to do. But again, evaluate. There's other options. There's other jobs out there. There's other passions. There's other things that you can pursue. So, and don't take that as me agreeing with you not doing Chick-fil-A. I would love for you to do Chick-fil-A long term if that's what you so choose to do. But I think it's easy to get caught up in the, hey, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, I think it's like the Atomic Habits book. It's just whatever is easy is that's your first instinct to do. So like you can do Chick-fil-A with your eyes shut. That's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, And so I think just to your point, is this really what you want to do, or is it just easy?
Yeah,
well, sorry, who?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't tell who was talking. I was just gonna say maybe just brainstorm and come up with like 2 or 3 different paths that you could see yourself doing, and you're not married to literally anything. You're not married to any path. But it kind of takes the pressure off because it's like, oh, I can actually envision myself really doing well at something different. And I still want to choose this Chick-fil-A path for now. And we'll see where it goes. It just takes the pressure off. So
you can be 40, because I'm 40. You can be 40 and make a change in your path. Like I always tell people, say it. Today is not my first day, but it could be my last. Like we don't know what the future holds. And so I think, sometimes you get stuck in it and you're just consistently doing it. But you have to continuously evaluate, like, where does the Lord want me? Like, what does he want me doing? So. Yeah.
And your horizons in your mid 20s versus your horizons in your mid 30s, approaching your 40s, you thought it was cute saying, hey, I'm available from open to close, After a while,
listen, I'll tell you.
After a while, your brain goes, hey, they might have it at 4, but your body is so programmed to get up at 4. You just keep getting up at 4, and then you keep being available till then. And after, anyway, we might be getting a little too deep here. So, Elise, thank you so much for.
I think Camry had a question. I think.
Oh, my bad. No, no. Anyone else? I'm sorry.
Who was it?
I think it was Camry. Maybe not.
No. Yeah, I think we maybe answered it.
Oh,
okay.
No, so I appreciate everybody. I'm going to forego the offer. Well, actually, you know what? There's one person on here because I say everybody's already family here except for one. So this offer is for you. Since you've attended Lead Better today, you are eligible for 1 month of coaching. All you have to do is go to www.tpenow.com and fill out a discovery form within the next 24 hours, and then you'll get a free month of coaching from us. And so I think Kara, it's Miss Greer is the one person who. Yeah, Ms. Greer is the one person who is not already affiliated with us on. But thank you, Elise. Can you tell everyone how they find you? Obviously, LinkedIn is a destination. Yeah. But what other channels are you on?
LinkedIn is big. I'm big on Instagram as well. So I'm at Elise the Coach on Instagram, and Elise Moore is my name on LinkedIn. I would love to just connect with you guys and see where you're at in your journeys and stick around, get in the circle.
I'm a pitch for Elise. So Elise, I was telling before you guys all got on, I told her, I was like, you're the one coach that I actually recommend people to.
That means so much to me.
Well, and I'll say this, Elise was my first. It took us a couple times, but we figured it out. Elise was my real first coach, is what I'm gonna say. That's a long story for another day. But she was my real first coach and asked me a lot of really hard questions. And I will say that we had one of our last conversations that we had really sent me to evaluate like where I was as an individual, but also where I was in the business, and has really changed the trajectory of where I'm at now. Mm-hmm. And so I will say, if You want to find somebody who's going to, I love that you talked about today, like you're not afraid to lose clients, because there are a lot of coaches out there that are afraid to lose clients. And I'm the same way. I'm like, if we don't work, we don't work. I think I told you that, Camry, whenever we had like just a discovery call together. I was like, look, I'm here to help you, but if you don't think we're going to work well together, then I'm good with that. And so I think when you're thinking about coaching, and, you know, really find someone who is willing to lose their job, AKA say hard things that might push you away. Because if you don't do that, you won't get, like, the benefits of coaching are pretty much null and void at that point, because you're not going to do the work if you don't have somebody pushing you to do the work. And Elise will definitely push you to do the work. So I'm putting a plug out there for Elise. I think.
Thank you, my girl.
I mean, you know, I can send you the recording so you can throw it on your Instagram too if you want.
There it is.
But she's awesome, has a good heart, and will totally help you get where you want to go. So
thank you.
Oh, love that. So website
bridgecoaching.com. My business, I never even introduced my company. My company's called Bridge Coaching. And so we do group coaching, we do cohorts, like group cohorts. We were launching one in April, and a lot of one-on-one coaching. So you can check out my website, but mostly it's LinkedIn and Instagram, honestly.
Okay, there you guys have it. So thank you guys so much for attending tonight's Lead Better, and we'll catch you next time. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your friend, Pastor John R. Adolph from the Antioch Church in Beaumont, Texas. And I just want to slip this in right quick so you'll never forget. It's all about progress over perfection here at TPE.
Tap into the Pivot Experience, where we help young, hungry entrepreneurs move on to the next step.